Good morning, everyone. I'm Maya Voorhees.
And I'm Michelle Mai. Climate change continues to be a major threat in our communities. Climate change is a long-term alteration of temperature and typical weather patterns in a place. The cause of current climate change is largely due to human activity, specifically burning fossil fuels, natural gas, oil, and coal. Burning these materials releases what are called greenhouse gases into Earth's atmosphere. The current findings on climate change by scientists is that the Earth has warmed substantially since the 1800s. The main cause is due to human activities, and the past 5 years have been the hottest on record since 1850.
Ice caps are melting, water levels are rising, and the temperatures seem to be fluctuating at an alarming rate.
There have been more frequent and intense droughts, storms, heat waves, and warming oceans, which is directly harming animals, destroying the places they live, and wreaking havoc on people's livelihoods and communities. As climate change worsens, dangerous weather events are becoming more frequent and severe.
Now over to Taylor to how climate change is impacting Florida.
Climate change is happening all over the world, even right here in Florida.
The sea is rising about 1 inch every decade, and heavy rainstorms are becoming more severe. In the coming years, rising temperatures are likely to increase storm damages, harm coral reefs, and increase the frequency of unpleasantly hot days here in Florida. Florida's coral reefs are susceptible to warming waters and ocean acidification. Rising water temperatures can also harm the algae that lives inside corals and provides food for them. This loss of algae weakens the corals and can eventually kill them.
The Everglades are vulnerable to both changing climate and rising sea levels.
Human activities have impaired this ecosystem by diverting the natural flow of water away from the Everglades to prevent flooding or to supply farmers and others with water. Ongoing efforts to restore the flow of water will be more difficult if rising temperatures increase competing demands for water.
Now over to Bella with more.
Take a second to look around and think about your daily life. The world is changing every second, and while it may not be visible to the naked eye, these changes are now becoming alarming. The shores of the ocean are coming closer to land, and the tides are rising. This is all due to sea levels rising and glaciers melting around the world. This is resulting from climate change. This problem has become a severe worry to all of society, and now we must open our eyes to the fact that the earth is warming, the temperatures are rising, the waters are warming, and ice caps are melting. Each country handles their environment in a different way, but to take the first step towards positive action, we can educate ourselves on the idea of climate change and understand what is happening in our world every day. There are many options to educate yourself, such as movies, documentaries, and the millions of websites that can provide information on the recent years of changes on Earth. And now over to Abigail with how you can help.
Well, one way is to lower your use of carbon emissions for a better impact on the environment. You can purchase carbon offsets, such as for a plane trip. Every 1,000 pounds of carbon offsets purchased destroys greenhouse gases equivalent to 1,000 pounds of carbon dioxide.
For reference, that's like taking your car off the road for an entire month. Another action an individual can take to ensure that they are doing what they can to protect our environment is doing research on the companies they are investing in and how they negatively or positively impact our environment.
According to the New York Times, people invested in fossil fuel companies should consider that ExxonMobil caused $39 billion in environmental damage from its carbon impact, according to Harvard Business School estimates, while BP caused $14 billion in damage.
Also, please try to lower the amount of water waste you cause. Cut down on how much time you spend in the shower and turn off the water when you're not using it. For instance, when you're brushing your teeth. Lastly, vote for those who support energy-efficient policies and action against climate change. In the U.S., policymakers implement policy tools such as research and development programs, voluntary programs, traditional regulations, and market-based programs. Now on to Bethany.
Like we heard from our other reports today, human-induced climate is ongoing. Ecosystems and communities are being greatly affected. The impacts climate change has on the multiple sectors of society are all associated with each other. Rather than asking whether climate change is occurring or not, or whether humans are the cause, we must ask ourselves what we can do. The number one goal is to minimize the use of fossil fuels like oil, carbon, and natural gas, and instead use renewable and cleaner sources of energy. We need to cut CO2 emissions in almost half. by the end of the next decade, says Kimberly Nicholas, Associate Professor of Sustainability Science at the Lund University Center for Sustainability Studies in Sweden. Take small actions like driving less, flying less often, and changing what you eat and buy. It is true that the climate change issue will not be resolved if we alter our lifestyles just a bit. Other changes are needed, like revamping our subsidy system for the energy and food industries. We should also set boundaries for sectors like farming, waste management, and deforestation. Next, exercise your rights as citizens and consumers. Last, a study co-authored by Lund University's Nicholas revealed going car-free was the #1 most effective action one can take to help resolve climate change, other than not having children. We should choose more efficient vehicles and, whenever possible, switch directly to electric vehicles, says Maria Virginia Villarino, co-author of the mitigation chapter in the IPCC's latest report. If each individual takes small steps to solve the issue of climate change, it'll be one step closer. So, what will you do today to take care of your planet?